Hello, everyone. This is Amit Goswami, a quantum physicist.
And this is Valentina Onisor, medical doctor.
Krishanu is on leave today, so we'll introduce ourselves and conduct the webinar. The subject today is a wonderful introduction to our Masters and Ph.D. program. Health, prosperity, and happiness. What do they mean? What do we teach? What the program is about? All this. So the big question, of course, that people constantly ask, why do we need a new science, a new paradigm to deal with health or happiness, let alone prosperity? That sounds very remote from quantum. But here is the thing. We have things in place, no doubt. We have doctors get a lot of publicity in terms of the wonderful progress in medicine. But you know, it's not so wonderful. People who suffer, they know better. Modern medicine, allopathic medicine, cannot treat chronic disease. That's a sad fact. They have piecemeal evidence-based chemotherapy, radiation therapy. Surgery, of course, has made some improvements. Yes. But they're not adequate for treating chronic disease. They take care of the symptoms, but they come back because the cause is not addressed. Now, it is true that there are many holistic healing techniques that are used in some places, and there are many propagators of these so-called holistic techniques, but they are not really scientific. What they do is they continue on the materialist worldview, matter is everything, and then introduce the idea of systems theory, or suppose there is wholeness anywhere, some kind of emergent phenomenon that creates a role for you, role for consciousness, role for the patient, role for the healer. But they're all pseudo. They're imaginations, no scientific basis. And this is very tragic because now a scientific basis has been available. Ever since I wrote my book in 1993, The Self-Aware Universe, Establishing the New Paradigm, I have been working on very carefully integrating all the other good ideas like Rupert Sheldrake's, like John Searle, the idea of meaning, processing mind, Carl Jung's ideas of psychology, Abraham Maslow's ideas of transpersonal psychology, Sagioli's ideas of integration. All of these have now been interpreted and integrated in a coherent, all-encompassing quantum science of consciousness, which includes all conscious experiences. You cannot treat a human being without being aware of consciousness. This is what the materialist leaves out. And alternative medicine, although they have techniques, but they don't have any theory behind it. And same thing can be talked about in discussing psychology of happiness. Yes, you hear great publicity because internet is full of publicity for positive psychology that was developed in Harvard University. But it's still materially based psychology. You don't have consciousness. How can you talk about us without talking about our consciousness and how it works? Without talking about love and how that fits in a model of consciousness. You cannot talk about positive emotions without bringing in us in an active way. For example, love is experienced at the heart. How? These questions have to be addressed. And this is what our program is about. It treats quantum science of consciousness as the basis of what we teach. We are talking about human beings. We're not talking about machines, robots. As much as materialists like to picture us that robots is all there is, everyone who knows, who has the experience of being a human being, knows that we are not robots. So there. Okay, now I'll begin some of the details. As usual, Valentina will explicate. I'll just mention a few details. Valentina, you can take over from there. So it's health, happiness, prosperity. Health is about physical health mainly, but integrating all the other bodies, the vital, mental, supramental, spiritual. 5 bodies of consciousness. Material, that's the hardware, and then we have software, vital software, emotional, mental, supramental, and then spirit itself. That's not a software, that's a state of being. All that contributes into our health. Integral health, integrative health. Valentina and I just finished a book which is being published by Monkfish in the USA. Then there is happiness. Sunil Bharani and I just wrote a book, a definitive book of defining the ladder of happiness and how to achieve that. Without understanding these ideas, you cannot talk about positive psychology. You can, of course, but you have to pretend things that are not there yet in a scientific way. If you start with consciousness, then everything becomes scientific after that. And quantum physics enables you to do just that. This is the objective. Quantum physics says all objects are possibilities for consciousness to choose from. Only when consciousness chooses, they become experience. And repeated experience gives you software. It's a simple idea. And then hardware can go wrong, software also can go wrong. So there are different levels of disease, different levels of healing. If the mental software is wrong, you have to correct the mental software first. That is producing the wrongness of the vital, wrongness of the physical eventually. You see how it goes? So these are the things. Valentina will take specific cases of cancer, specific cases of type 2 diabetes, even Alzheimer, and show you how the quantum approach gives you a theory of all of these chronic diseases that take place that are major concerns today. There's just a recent piece of data I'll quote just to show how serious Alzheimer's is becoming. Fully 10%, it was found by an American poll or whatever they did to collect this information. Fully 10% of American elderly are contracting Alzheimer. And similar data must exist in other societies as well. Just you got to realize that. And it's getting untreated because we don't have an allopathic theory. But we do have an integrative medicine theory. If we apply this theory, if we apply what this theory is saying about hardware, software, then we won't be wasting our time so much on hardware modifications. We'll work with the software, mental and vital, which are crucial points here. And of course, we'll also talk about soul software, which is a higher software, supramental software. And once we have that, there will be no need for any healing because there will be no chronic disease. It is a fact that lifestyle can be changed. I am a living example of it. I had coronary bypass operation in 1996. The surgeon said, okay, we give you 10 years to live. But of course, I started changing my lifestyle, and that was 1996, sorry, almost 30 years ago, and I'm still alive and kicking. So there. And you can do it too. Old age problems are no longer unsolvable. You can have a life with dignity as you go old. Okay, I have spoken enough. Valentina?
All right, let's see if the internet will help. So indeed, you know very well, I think everybody who's here now, that we are talking about the new science and new way to integrate spirituality, integrated worldview, actually, science of consciousness. So it is actually, first of all, it's a human science, yeah, and we call it quantum science of consciousness. And what we do in our programs is applications, direct applications on health, happiness, and even prosperity, because they really go together. And what we want to do, and which is a big passion for us, is to restore, to help in the restoring of the human values and higher education. And that means also with more meaning and power, to lift us from a limiting base level existence that we all usually live in. Yeah. So when we say higher education, we refer, as Amit just said, not only to the physical and the mechanical side of the human being, which is excellent to know. We need to know. The more we know physics, chemistry, anatomy, and once we know very well these things, as long, for example, as you're becoming a very good doctor and specialized, it's excellent. But we need to also become aware that there is a non-physical and creative side of the human, soft science, if you want. There's a conscious side of biology, of the health science, of psychology, and even, as I said, in economics and business. There's a very strong, actually, it's called soft science, yeah? But it's really powerful to learn about this and then be able to experience and transform yourself with that, and eventually really bring that in the world. So it is also implying a change in our attitudes from lower needs, survival oriented, to a balance of between these lower needs and higher needs as well. Yeah, because we all need to have our bread on the table, but in the same time, there's something very, very special about us being humans. It is really a gift once you start having those quantum leaps that we talk about, and the soul is really developing in the stages that we describe. You will find this feeling of gratitude in your being, growing and growing more, and you will see also the tendency to remain in conditioning. And the tendency for creativity will appear. So there will be a balance. When we say health science, we refer that health science has to restrain the current preoccupation with just disease. You see so many names about disease only. And so not just disease, and actually morph into a science of health and well-being, and also prevention. We speak a lot about preventive medicine and healing, all in the pursuit of what we call wholeness. Yeah. Then when we say psychology and psychiatry also, we refer to much more than just being preoccupied with the mental disease, sufferance, trauma, and all that, and pleasure, and all the abuses that come with that. We focus only on that. You see so many, immediately we give a pill for a kid has what we call ADHD, or, many times it's very not diagnosed well, and immediately we just give a pill, so we have to come out of this quick fix mentality and morph into a science of happiness in what concerns psychology. Yeah? And then when we say economics, we refer to going further from just the preoccupation of the material wealth and go into a science of prosperity in the pursuit of what is called the archetype of abundance. Because maybe many of you saw that movie, The Secret, which is not really giving the secret, unfortunately. And many times you hear about science of manifestation. But again, you have to see the new science is a science of consciousness and of our own transformation. And you will see that it's offering integration of science with the wisdom traditions, which again will restore also the credibility of science as well. Because again, it is a science of consciousness, and we expand the two prongs, theory and experiment, of traditional science into three prongs. Yeah, so it's going to be theory, experiment, and experience as well. And again, so the materialist science, it remains intact under the new science in the fields of the hard sciences, which deal with the non-living, physics, chemistry, engineering, etc. So it's a science of the domain of the living that gets the revisioning. And yeah, it's very interesting because we just had now a wonderful congress in Brazil on quantum health. And we really met many, many people. Brazil is, for me, it's a very fertile land in this way. People that are really open and ready to get into these things deeper. We start in whichever area that your interest is. So whether it's health psychology or understanding about the abundance, we start with understanding the base level human condition. Yeah, because as Amit, he was pointing that I should talk about certain diseases. I can, but eventually we see that at the base of and so this is starting manifesting actually in the other bodies before manifesting in the physical body. There is a certain state of lack of harmony or synchrony between the bodies, maybe. There's something which has an impact on one of the bodies, for example, a mental body, and you maintain a state of trauma, and which is affecting, of course, the vital body, and you feel that you don't have the vitality that you need. So there are a lot of cases that underwent under a lot of cases that were really ready to transform, and people experiences what is called the divine grace. So it is like that. Either you, due to our karmas, due to our samskaras, vasanas, all that conditionings, and also dharma. So according to where we are getting messages in this way from consciousness to transform. And that again is applying also to the state of mind. If we stay constantly in a state of sufferance, without knowing what to do, kind of. And we learn to be responsible also. And in the same time, we learn about creativity, which is essential. And going from a negative emotion, understanding and accepting the negative emotion, turning it, balancing actually with building the positive emotional brain circuits. There are a lot of tools that you will receive in the courses. But everything starts with there are various features that maybe Amit wants to mention about our education, but just let me tell you a few more things about the health system, because I'm a medical doctor. And you will see easily how you can learn the integration of conventional and alternative medical practices and be trained in what we call preventive medicine. And then you will see how you can develop and maintain health management also for your clients, And also, again, even when no medicinal system will work, because really there are cases like that, people who apparently anatomically, biologically, you see they are perfect, there's no problem there, just the person has, for example, chronic fatigue. Yeah. So even in this kind of cases, you can always resort to what we call quantum healing. It's a creative technique that you will learn as a final method for healing, actually. And you need to continue. You have to, of course, build on perseverance and all that is needed. Work through forgiveness, maybe, or whatever you need, And just, of course, understanding that transformation is something continuous and not being afraid of that, yeah. But again, considering healing as an exploration of the archetype of wholeness, you will see that it's a healing path even to enlightenment, living in positive health for both you, the therapist or the doctor, and your patients that will come to you actually Of course, there is enormous new research on vital energy instrumentations and diagnostics. Yeah, so we also have people in these kind of enterprises, and they join together the forces because eventually we need to join together. You know, it's not a one-man manifestation that has to happen nowadays. You see where we are on the planet, how much we are really destroying the planet and ourselves with all this holes that we have in our systems. And of course, we also use various practices for the vital body, especially, and even more, like meditation or yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong. And you can also use them in your healing practice. We also speak about the nutrition of the 5 bodies, because again, it's not, of course, we need to know nowadays so many, we are lacking. We don't have good water, you know, it's a lot of nourishments that are lacking in our food, of course, but it's not just the physical body that we want to nourish. It's really all the other bodies, and we describe them all, you know, how we can go towards really nourishing all that we are. And again, we really want to create a community, and there's a growing list of researchers of quantum integrative medicine. Now, in the happiness or psychology, mental health arena, of course, we will learn and practice things like neuroses and or psychosis and depression, stuff like that. And we become aware of something which is really important, which is called chakra psychology and vital creativity. And you will see how this has impact immediately in such cases of neurosis, psychosis, addictions, depressions. Amit has mentioned diabetes, which again nowadays is everywhere, and there are already researches a lot, and even cases in our PhD programs, you know, where people really work on Manipura chakra, so on the belly area. We describe what are these morphogenetic fields, lethargical fields, called later on. There's already Rupert Sheldrake who brought us evidence and information about those, and we go further. Yeah, and if you want, it's a revolutionary path. You know, even in psychotherapy, we can use quantum creativity, and this you will see how it's increasing the psychoanalysis by quantum healing. So it's again, you will be part of this new revolution, and again, use quantum creativity, which is giving a technique for healing addiction, which otherwise you cannot treat it. You know, in some cases, many cases actually. Then when we say about economics, business, and even social activism, which eventually is needed because we don't want to live in a cave world, again, we go from the concept of needs and just gifts, you know, to expanding the economic arena and include the subtle higher needs, you know, like noble feelings, new meanings, consciousness expanding archetypes. Yeah. So you will see it's developing a subtle economy, and which again, it expands the concept of just selfishness and include not just the personal, but also the social consciousness, and eventually empower others, you know. So yeah, so all this, we have, I think, 2 courses on economics, business, and prosperity. And you will see that your productivity and efficiency, this dream of all business leaders will increase. Yeah, because nowadays this is very important. There are so many robots that will really replace routine human jobs. You know, there's this new economics and introducing the concept of human capital, and you will see that there will be a problem with the jobs for humans. And this, if we don't wake up and we don't work together, you will see there is a kind of collapse that can be there, you know, unless we really do this leap together and transform our mentalities, our attitudes. And also we go into politics, not so much, just a little bit, and still correct the injustice and inequality, and eventually bring again prosperity to the entire society. Yeah, of course, there are so many people who want to go into education as leaders of education, And you will really have the right tools and concepts to bring another worldview, a new worldview of thinking and value of education and creativity in the schools and institutions of higher education. And now we have the program available in English and Portuguese, but we will probably expand soon in other languages. Amit, if you want to wrap it up.
So let me re-emphasize, our education is one of the very few transformational education that is available today. In fact, my educated guess is that there is no other than our Masters and Ph.D. program at this higher education level of any transformational education. Transformation is needed. You cannot heal a person staying at the same level which produced the disease. In other words, you cannot go on living a lifestyle which produced the disease for which people is coming to you for help. Therefore, we insist that our students who will graduate from us, they take quantum leaps in their heart. Valentina mentioned chakras. By heart, I mean the heart chakra. And in their navel chakra, when we take these quantum leaps, our physiology improves, and we don't suffer from this chronic disease. This has to be really the case for healers. Similarly, for mental health psychotherapists, it is imperative that they are able to empathize. Empathize not in the local way where you sympathize with the person because you have mirror neurons built in. But in a quantum way, which we call non-locality, signal-less communication, ESP, in that way, you directly see what the problem is with the person. Another example I'll give you from mental health is that, conventional scientists give up the idea that there can be an explanation of what they call abnormal personalities. These are disorders, psychological disorder, personality disorder, and there's no theory of it. We have a theory. Based on quantum science, we can give a theory. It is a fact that people with personality disorder are more prone to neurosis, clinical neurosis, and psychosis. So now that we understand how personality disorders are produced, we can give theories of neurosis, psychosis like never before. Can you believe? So this is what you get from our system. Valentina mentioned a lot about leadership and how to make a good model of prosperity. Yes, we have a sustainable economics. Quantum economics is a sustainable economics. And quantum leadership, again, exists on the same principle. You cannot solve the problems that the followers are suffering and be a leader. That would be cheating. You've got to have what we call moral authority, which is achieved only after you made the quantum leaps in your navel and heart in order to really empathize with others, with people other than you, get over this me-centeredness, which is the problem with almost everybody today, including the healers, including the teachers, including the leaders. We got to come out of that milieu, and we are going to train the new age of healers and leaders and educators who will have transformed, who will have the moral authority to engage in their profession in the right human way. Thank you.